Hello everyone, back again with another battle report. I promised there might have some coming, so here we go. See if I can still remember how to do this. So this was a game I played yesterday. Just a small game, 1,000 points. As I said in the previous video, I haven't played fantasy in like 4 or more years, and the guy I was playing against managed to get a pickup game. He's not played for like 7 or 8 years, so maybe not that long. But between us, we've not played for a good number of years, so we started off small and simple, and this also encapsulates every single Bretonnia model I own. So 1,000 points is literally the biggest game I could play anyway, but it was quite a nice little game just to get things started. So we deploy a little bit like this. So I only have 3 drops, so I let my opponent deploy first, and I was pretty much all completely down before he even put anything meaningful on the table. So I got my peg knights in the corner, the peasants in the middle. I wanted them, the peasant centrals, so they could actually take some shots at pretty much anything on the board. And then the big knight bus. I sort of angled like this because he went over in the far corner, so the thinking was I could just march straight forward and don't have to lose any distance in terms of like wheeling. And then in the characters, as you can see, I've got a BSB with a 1-up rerollable. He's on the front right with a big flag. He's pretty hard to miss. And then I've got another paladin with a 1-up rerollable. He's on the front left corner. And then in the middle of the second rank, there's a level 4 on Heavens. And they are sitting in a unit of 12 errant knights, 16 bowmen, 3 pegs. Pretty simple. Over on the Wood Elf side then, we have a eagle in the top left, a unit of 10 Glade Guard, a unit of 13 Glade Guard, 10 Dryads and 3 Treekin. In the smaller Glade Guard unit, there's a level 2 on Lore of Beasts, and in the big Glade Guard unit, there is a noble who has a Hail of Doom arrow, which, yeah, that's going to sting at some point. And over on the far right, I don't know if I caught a picture of it, but there is another eagle. And then we have some Way Watchers that scouted down here in the bottom left corner. Now, I didn't really have any real way to stop them getting behind me at some point. With it being a small game on a big board, they were always going to get in behind me. So I could have handled them probably a little bit better, but yeah, they just got behind my lines. There's not much I could do about it. Vanguards look like that. Again, I'm just trying to close the gap. I see the eagle there's actually started moving, so I just remembered to do my vanguards just after he started moving. But you know, we didn't enforce any rules on each other, considering we were both really rusty. So vanguard up like that, just trying to close the gap. I of course pray Wood Elves go first, and movement phase looks like this. So not an awful lot of movement. Everything just kind of shuffles around. The eagle flies forward. It's just behind that big tree piece of terrain that's in the sort of bottom left of the picture. The Glade Guard just shuffle around to get within range of my peasant bowmen. They want to start trying to win that shooting war. The Dryads move over to the right a little bit. I couldn't remember if Dryads kept Skirmisher or not. It didn't really bother me to look it up or not. I seem to remember that they lost Skirmisher, but maybe I'm wrong. So they in the magic phase try to get a Famba Spear, but I block it with my superior magic caster, and then in the shooting phase he kills a knight. I can't remember if it was Way Watchers or the other archers. It doesn't matter. 1 knight died, and then shooting continues and kills 4 peasant bowmen as well. All panic tests are passed, and we go into Bretonnia turn 1. So this is actually taken at the end of the magic phase, I think. I forgot to take one at the end of movement. It's not a great picture of the movement, but I just turn the bowmen like so, do them a swift reform, which they pass the test, so they can start shooting at the Way Watchers. In the long run, the Way Watchers are definitely going to win that war of attrition because peasant bowmen are terrible. But they've got harmonic convergence on there, so maybe getting to reroll those ones might help a little bit. I do turn the night bus so they can see the Way Watchers. My thinking is I wanted to launch a Uranus Thunderbolt at them, so that's why I didn't go full steam ahead, because I'm only really worried about the Way Watchers, because if they get a good round of shooting off, they can like kill a quarter of my night bus every turn. They're hitting on 2s, wounded on 4s. I get no armor save, and then I've just got a 6-up blessing save, which ain't going to keep any knights alive really. So I need to get those Way Watchers dealt with, and then I can worry about the rest of his forces. So magic phase, I go ahead and go for a Uranus Thunderbolt, but dispels it. But it lets me get harmonic convergence off there, and also a comet off there right in front of his lines. So that's going to be nice that I can come down and start doing some work on those archer units for me. And then in the shooting phase, a peasant actually manages to kill a Waywatcher, which is quite interesting. That was good fun. The peasants with their awesome longbows, needing like 6s and 7s to hit. That was great. Okay, into Wood Elf turn 2 then. So this is actually taken at the start of the magic phase, and as you can see, the comet did indeed come down and absolutely went to town on the Wood Elf forces. Kills half of both of the Glade Guard units, kills half of the Dryads, does a bunch of damage to the Treekin. I think he only did like a couple of wounds to the Treekin. I can't remember if that unit started with 3 or 4. I think I only did a couple of wounds, but yeah, just cut all the Glade Guard in half. Absolutely brutal comet. I rolled like 8 hits, 9 hits consistently on all the units and just shredded everybody. It was great. All the panic tests to pass though. But yeah, comets really swung the game into my favour. In the shooting phase, or this may be the magic phase, he kills one Peg Knight and does a wound to another. And then shooting continues, or in magic phase, whatever, and takes the last wound off that last Peg Knight. So I'm down to 1 Peg Knight. Into Bretonnia turn 2 then. So I gave up my plan of dealing with the Waywatchers purely because all these points are in that top left corner, so I've got to go start actually killing some stuff to get some points. You'll notice that the Eagles have moved up behind the pieces of terrain there to start redirecting the bus, but I mean that's fine. I'll happily charge the Eagles and reform with my Paladins in the front row. I'm not really worried about any of his combat units. The Dryads are only strength 3, strength 4 if they get Wissons off, but you know, who cares, right? With 1 rerollables, they're just not going to do any work. And then my Champion's in the front rank as well. So at most he's going to kill like my Champion, maybe sneak a wound through on one of the Paladins, but I've got all those ranks, plenty of attacks from the bus itself. So yeah, for the most part, I'm just not worried about it. Peg Knight flies up behind the piece of terrain to threaten the Waywatchers. Not the best use of him, but I didn't really know what to do with a single Peg Knight. I thought if I try and send him up just in front of the units of Glade Guard, they'll just shoot him off. So I figure if he wants to go after my Peg Knight, it means he's not going after my my Night Bus of the Waywatchers, which I'm pretty happy about. Into the magic phase then. So this time I go ahead and cast a comet, but after the devastation it wreaked on his forces. Last time he rightly dispels the comet, but then it lets me get Uranus Thunderbolt off on the unit with the noble in there. I roll 6 hits, do 6 wounds, kill the unit, and do a wound on the noble. Absolutely shredded him. Like the magic phase from the level 4 heavens is just dominating him at the minute. Really looking pretty good. There's, you know, the shooting's really depleted. 1 unit off the table, and there's just not a whole lot you can do about the Night Bus. I also get Eyesharp Blizzard off on the Waywatchers just for you know, just for the sake of it. But actually, the peasants in the shooting phase kill 3 Waywatchers. You know, these guys are like hitting on 7s, like half the units on 7s, half the units on 6s. But it only takes, you know, 2 or 3, and then I get lucky with the wound rolls, and that's what happened here. And yeah, no armor save. So now we're only down to Waywatchers. Now I'm just completely not worried about them. And now I kind of feel a bit done with the move of the Peg Knight. But you know, hindsight is what it is. Going into Wood Elf turn 3 then. So as predicted, he went ahead and redirected the bus with an Eagle, and he set up the Dryads for a bit of a counter charge. But again, I'm just not really worried about the Dryads. If he wants to go after my bus, then fine. He can chase down the peasants if he wants, but they're just not a lot of points, so I'm not too worried about it. I think as well in the magic phase, he sent an Amber Spear through the Knight unit. I think he got it off Irresistible Force. The miscast didn't do anything, and then he killed a couple of Knights. So into Bretonnia turn 3, then I go ahead and charge the Eagle, so I'm not too worried about it. And I don't move the peasants because I want to try and kill that last Waywatcher. And if I move, it's just an unwanted minus to the unit. Basically, I've got half the unit on 6s and half on 7s. I don't want to put the whole unit on 7s, so I'm just staying still. And then the last Peg Knight, he flies up into the other side of that tree. His 2 characters are there, and his last Glade Guard unit, so that so that's where his points are. So I'm just trying to chase him down. In the magic phase, we go ahead and I can't remember, I think I went for a comet and got a pretty decent roll. Then he went for the dispel and missed it. And then that let me get off a bubble version of harmonic convergence and an Ice Shard Blizzard on the Treekin if they want to come in on the following round. So yeah, a level 4 against just a level 2 is probably a bit overpowered at a low point game, but it was literally the only models that I had. So, and I like Heavens. I wanted to play Heavens. I could have probably brought a level 2 and took a Bretonnian Lord and done it that way around. But I like Heavens. I'm not a big fan of Life, and Beast is okay, but Heavens is my favourite lore. And in combat, of course, we kill the Eagle. I only roll the dice for the Paladins. Kill that and just reform so that the Dryads and the Treekin are both in my front. The Treekin with Wissons could do some work. Particularly if they can force me to fail a fear test, which leadership 8, I've got a reroll, but leadership 8 is not, not exactly the sort of leadership you want to rely on. And if you can force Wissons through, then they're like strength 6, toughness 6. I'm not going to do any wounds. At strength 6, you can stop, threatening the Paladins. If he sends the Dryads in, then I'm not worried about the Dryads. And then into Wood Elf turn 4 then. So again, this is I think this looks like it's the end of the shooting phase. You'll have to forgive me while I get up to speed with taking pictures again. But he doesn't charge the Treekin in. I don't know if he's worried about Ice Shard Blizzard or just my static combat res or not doing enough damage or whatever. But they just stay where they are. The Comet doesn't come down, gets another token. That would have been really nice to come down now because it probably would have cleaned up his Noble, cleaned up the level 2 that's just behind the. In fact, I think the level 2's ran down. She's just under the tree actually. You can just see her next to the base of the tree. And then the model down below, I think, is the last remaining Way Watcher. But if that Comet had come down, it most certainly would have killed his Noble. Would have most certainly wiped out the rest of his Glade Guard and done some further damage to the Treekin, and then I would have been in a really good spot. But it doesn't come down, gets another token. The shooting phase puts a wound on the Peg Knight. And okay, magic, if he tries to cast anything, I don't think it does anything of note that I can remember. And then into Bretonnia in turn 4. This is a really horrible picture. I think it's focused on the top of that terrain piece, which is why everything else is blurred up. But again, missed the movement phase. This is taking it into the magic phase. So you can see in the top left-hand corner, the Peg Knight charged his Glade Guard, survived the standing shoot. That was a pretty nervy moment. He only needed to force through 1 wound, and I think I saved it on a ward save maybe, or it might have been an armor save. Either way, I think he did a wound and then I saved it. So that would have sucked if he'd have killed the Peg Knight on a standing shoot, but I took the risk to get the points. The Comet doesn't come down. It gets another token. So the one on the left is actually on 3 tokens now, and then I cast another Comet as well, just in front of the Treekin. And I've gone ahead and he redirected me with another Eagle, so I just charged the Eagle again. I'm just picking up the points where I can, because I'm not really worried about any of his counter charges. And then down here, I think I actually charged the Dryads, if I remember right. Purely because I had nothing better to shoot. The Dryads were stood right next to the Peasants. They were going to charge me anyway, so I figured I might as well charge him. Didn't know they had Hatred. That was a bit of a mistake, but I think I got off quite lucky in terms of not doing many wounds. I don't think I did anything to him. I lose combat, but I'm steadfast and I stick, which is cool. And of course the Night Bus beats the Eagle and just redirects again, so we're going to have a fight with the Treekin eventually. He's now run out of redirecting units, so we're going to have a proper fight. And in the comment at the top left, I actually kill every single archer. So this is obviously the champion from the Peg Knight unit. He charges in with his 2 attacks, kills 2 guys, and then the Pegasus kills 1, and then stomps the last one. So I managed to kill all 4. I don't need to break them and run them down or anything. and then the Peg Knight just redirects to see his noble, basically to force him to move more than anything else, but also I can charge the Treekin in the flank, or potentially the rear if he goes ahead and charges me. Which is what happens. So Wood Elf turn 5, he charges the front of the Knight unit. Now, I'm not too worried about it. He could force a Wistons through, and then it gets a little bit dicey, but I'm kind of hoping the Comet comes down and does a bunch of damage to him. That would be nice if it did. It would help me out. And I think this is just showing he's basically moving. He's got now like he's got his noble who's on foot on his own, his level 2 who's foot on her by herself, and there's a lone way watcher, and they're all basically just staying 12 inches away from the Comet. And that might just be a duplicate picture. And then into the magic phase. So neither of the Comets come down, so they both get another token. So that Comet has got 4 tokens on it. So that's going to come down and do 2d6 plus 4 hits at strength 9. Strength 8, sorry. Yeah, that Comet's going to sting when it eventually decides to come down. In the combat phase, the Dryads go ahead and whoop on the Peasants who, now they're not steadfast, they fail the break test and flee. And then he just reforms the Dryads to turn around. And then the combat here, I don't think anyone does any wounds to anyone else. I think he did force through Wissons, so he's toughness 6. So all my guys being, strength 4 on the Paladins and strength 3 on the other Knights and the Horses, they just don't do anything. But he directs all his attacks at my. I think he does 2 of the tree can go against the BSB. I end up having to take like 5 or 6 armor saves, but the one rerollable managed to make them all, and then the other tree kin kills the champion. I think I actually win combat. See, he has a charge and a wound, but I have 2 ranks and 2 banners. But I think he sticks. Yeah, he does stick. So this is actually Bretonnian turn 5. So go ahead and this is taken at the end of the turn. I think I've lost the Peg Knight at some point. I think he's probably shot by the Noble, who's in the very top left of the picture. In the combat phase on Bretonnian turn 5, we go ahead and actually in the magic phase the Comet comes down and does a whole bunch of damage to the Treekin and kills like 2 or 3 of my Knights. And then in the carnage of rolling the Comet, I actually forget to do my magic phase, so I don't put harmonic convergence up, I don't do Ice Shard Blizzard. None of my other spells actually get cast because I just forget in the in the panic of well, not the panic, but resolving the Comet. But what actually happens is, in a bit of a moment of madness, and I beat the Treekin. I don't kill him. He breaks from combat, and then I run him down, get the points. But look where I'm sat, right next to a Comet with 5 tokens on it. Now, if that thing comes down, I'm in a world of pain. So a bit of a huge mistake overrunning the Treekin, because I could pay quite dearly for that. I'm not sure what this picture's showing. I think maybe a charge from the Dryads into the Knights and they fail in Wood Elf turn 6. I can't really remember. So yeah, this Wood Elf, this looks like Bretonnian turn 6 actually, because I've reformed the Night Bus, and yeah, in in the last turn the Comet did come down, killed every single Knight in the unit. Looks like I got one left, the Standard Bearer, because the champion died to the Treekin earlier in the game. So now all I've got is my BSB who's taken a wound, my other Paladin who actually made his ward save and didn't take a wound, or it might have been the other way around, and the token needs to slide over, and I've reformed the unit, and then level 4 passed her ward save, but the Night Bus got absolutely shredded, which is actually a big mistake, because now with his shooting, he's still got his Noble, he's still got a Way Watcher, he can now just target the characters, and let's say there's a Paladin there who's on 1 wound, so he could quite easily just target the Paladin, particularly with a Way Watcher who doesn't allow armor saves, and then my 1-up rerollable is completely useless. So it looks like we actually played on to a turn 7, but it's fine. It doesn't make. Say this is a first game in a long time. We're both very rusty, so the Wood Elves just move around, as you can see. Just getting out of my charge art, preventing him from getting any points. I think he goes ahead and casts an amber spear at the last model in the unit. In his turn, kills it, and then this is the last picture. This is Bretonnia turn 7. Literally, I separate all the characters because they were the only 3 models left in the unit, and I do that so I can 6 dice Thunderbolt into his level 2. Thinking if I miscast, at least the worst I can do is dimensionally cascade herself and not kill the paladins as well. But what happens is I go ahead and we get Thunderbolt off, and I roll 1 wound on level 2 and it doesn't do anything. So really fun game. I mean, this is like putting on an old pair of comfortable shoes. What a fun game. What a fantastic opportunity to play this old game of fantasy again. So there's going to be some more guys. Rusty at doing these battle reports, but we'll get better. So cheers for watching and see you on the next one.